The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the massive hologram materialized above their heads. Even the eldest representatives, who had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, felt their various circulatory organs freeze at the sight. The Kethera Empire's primary fleet, over 3,000 warships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, was being systematically dismantled by a force that shouldn't exist. "Impossible," High Counselor Vix whispered, his crystalline form vibrating with distress. "The humans were barely spacefaring 3 decades ago. They shouldn't have this kind of technology." Ambassador Linra of the Mithari clicked her mandibles nervously. She alone seemed unsurprised by the display. "You never asked why we helped them," she said softly. "When we discovered their world, found them struggling with their first fusion drives. You never asked why my people chose to give them FTL technology." The human ships moved with terrifying precision, their weapons cutting through Kethera's shields like they didn't exist. Each vessel bore the same marking, a simple blue flower against a white background. "The azure petal," Linra continued. "A flower from Earth. One my grandmother brought back from their world 50 years ago when her scout ship crashed there." The council chamber's atmospheric processors struggled to keep up with the rapid breathing of 24 species as they watched the battle unfold. The Kethera fleet's formation was collapsing, their legendary discipline crumbling in the face of an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. "My grandmother's ship crashed in something they called a garden." Linra's voice carried clearly in the stunned silence. "She was badly injured. By all rights, she should have died there, on that high-gravity death world. Instead, a human child found her, a young female who should have run screaming from an alien twice her size." On the hologram, a Kethera dreadnought attempted to flee. 3 human vessels appeared from seemingly nowhere, their drives bending space in ways that defied conventional physics. The dreadnought lasted less than 30 seconds. "The child took my grandmother home. Her family, instead of calling their authorities or trying to capture advanced alien technology, spent 6 months helping her heal. They grew these flowers in their garden. My grandmother said they were the first thing she saw each morning as she recovered." The High Counselor's crystalline surface facets shifted in agitation. "What does this have to do with—" "The child's name," Linray interrupted, "was Sarah Chen. She's now the admiral commanding that fleet." The chamber erupted in overlapping frequencies of shock. The hologram showed the final phase of the battle, if it could even be called that anymore. It was a hunt, methodical and precise. "The Kethera attacked our colony last month," Linra continued. "They didn't know about our connection to humanity. Didn't know that every Mithari colony has a quantum channel directly to Earth. When they started bombarding our cities, we sent one message. Just one." She raised her datapad, displaying the text, "Remember the flower." The human response came 2 minutes later, "We remember." "Hold on." The hologram showed the last Kethera ship going dark. The human fleet regrouped with mechanical precision, their formation perfect, despite the chaos they'd just unleashed. A new transmission cut through the Council's security protocols, like they weren't there. Admiral Sarah Chen's face appeared above them, older than the child who had once helped an injured alien, but with the same eyes. "The Mithari colonies are now under Earth's protection," she stated simply. "The Kethera fleet has been disabled. Their crews have been transported to detention facilities. Their weapons have been confiscated. This is not a negotiation." The High Counselor found his voice. "You can't simply—" "We can. We will. Humanity does not forget its debts." The Admiral's expression softened slightly as she looked at Linra. "The flowers still bloom in my mother's garden. Your grandmother's great-grandchildren are welcome to visit anytime." The transmission cut off. The human fleet vanished, their drives leaving ripples in space-time that made the Council's best scientists' appendages tremble. Linra looked around the chamber, are the representatives of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. You see, she said quietly, you never asked the right questions. You saw humans master our technology quickly and assumed they were good at copying. You never wondered if they were actually rediscovering things they'd theorized centuries ago, held back only by resource limitations. She gestured at the now empty battlefield. You never asked why my people, who had been spacefaring for 10,000 years, chose to help a primitive species. We saw what they could do with just their primitive technology. We saw their potential. More importantly, we saw their hearts. The High Counselor's crystals chimed in distress. What are you saying? I'm saying that humanity just eliminated the galaxy's most feared military force in under an hour, using technology they've had for barely 30 years. And they did it because 50 years ago, a family grew flowers to make an injured alien feel less homesick. As the council chamber descended into chaos, Linra smiled. Let them fear humanity's power. Her people knew the truth. It wasn't humanity's weapons that made them truly formidable. It was their capacity for both remembering kindness and repaying it 1,000-fold. The galaxy would learn, as the Mythari had, that having humanity as an ally was worth far more than having them as a subject race. After all, any species that would build a fleet of planet-killing warships just to repay a childhood kindness was probably better kept as a friend.